Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us here on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman. Hope you're having a great week so far. Well, almost 5 decades have passed since a mother was killed in her home, and Tucson police have reopened the case file to search for answers. In this week's 13 Crime Files, we speak with the detective on the case about why now and where the search for a suspect stands. You are looking at actual crime scene photos the day it happened. It was mid-morning on Monday, March 22nd, 1976. 52-year-old Ruby Sherman was in her Midtown home in the Broadway and Craycroft area, just going about her day when someone entered her house and stabbed her. Her son came home to find his mother dead.
Her body had experienced some trauma. Police were called. A neighborhood canvass was initiated, as well as an investigation at the time. And ever since 1976, the case itself hasn't had a lot of traction by way of public information.
All these years later, and there are still more questions than answers. But now the hope is with advanced DNA technology, there may soon be a break in the case as Tucson police try to once again take a look at some of the evidence gathered decades ago.
There are things that were not explored in 1976 that by way of technology today could very well be explored. The other piece is that, clearly in the minds of the surviving family members themselves, there are a lot of unanswered questions that we hope to be able to answer.
Nothing was stolen from Sherman's house, leaving the motive behind the killing of this seemingly innocent woman a mystery.
In some cases, there were people that were interviewed shortly after the event itself that are still persons of interest.
While some form of physical proof would be instrumental in the investigation, there's more that detectives are hoping for.
It's our hope that aside from a forensic link, that testimonial evidence can come forward and be useful in terms of being able to account for the perpetrator's whereabouts, the sort of before, during, and after piece.
And as the years go on, Sherman's family hopes they see some resolution in their lifetime.
Being able to provide the family with some answers. I'm hesitant to use the word closure, but I do think that the family members are able to have some account for who perpetrated this offense. In this case, since 1976, they haven't known a whole lot of information, and we, the police, don't know a whole lot about the perpetrator in this crime.
If you have any information about this case, you are asked to reach out to Tucson Police or call 88 Crime. You can also submit a tip to 88 Crime via your cell phone or their website. On to our next story for this evening, protecting your children from sexual predators. A new Arizona law is called child enticement. Reporter Derek Stahl explains one family's horror story and how the new law is designed to protect our kids.
Hopefully nobody else will go through what my daughter went through and what my family's gone through.
A family shares their fight for justice in order to protect more children from sexual predators. They're the driving force behind a new Arizona law that makes it easier to prosecute suspected criminals before they physically abuse a victim, a crime now called child enticement.
Reporter Derek Stahl sat down with the family who's using their trauma to promote real change. And a warning, some of the details are graphic.
It absolutely changed my life in every single way, and although I hate that it happened, I can say that I am much happier where I am now than where I was.
This teen, who we'll call Anne, says she was a 14-year-old freshman on the girls' softball team when her coach started texting her personal details.
In text conversations, he told me about how he was in high school, the first time he had sex, then he lost his virginity.
She says the coach, a man in his 30s who was also a teacher, insisted she visit his classroom alone, and they'd spend long stretches on his couch.
You said he towed the line, but he never technically crossed it. What did you mean by that?
There was a time when we were sitting on the couch like side by side. His hand would go on my thigh. It would go up like to the bottom of my shorts. One time it went up like up the back of my shirt. However, he never went, the step further.
Anne says the principal eventually discovered them alone in a locked classroom, and that's when her family went to police.
The police officer who investigated your daughter's case said this was the worst case of grooming he's seen in his 35-year career, and yet there was nothing they could do?
Correct. When you see something done to your kid, there's really nothing worse. And when you can't get the justice that they deserve, it's a horrible feeling as a parent.
The county attorney's office dropped charges against the coach, citing burden of proof issues. Privately, Anne's family says prosecutors told them they couldn't bring charges for sexual assault because Anne never claimed he touched her crotch or chest, only her buttocks and thigh. And they couldn't bring a case for harassment because Anne didn't object.
As a mom, when you hear that explanation of, oh, we can't bring these charges because your 14-year-old daughter didn't say no, how does that sit with you?
The same way it sat when I've heard all this, it's horrific. And that's why we tried to start this, because the only way they would stop him is if he actually completed the act. By the grace of God, he didn't get that far. But there was a lot of damage that's been done.
The family contacted State Representative Travis Grantham, and he introduced a bill that would define grooming as a criminal offense. But critics argued the bill could be used to criminalize teachers.
2310's broad and vague language still threatens to criminalize innocent acts that would educate teens and other young adults about sexually transmitted disease, reproductive health, and safe sex.
They also argued the term grooming itself has become an anti-LGBT slur. So Grantham amended the bill to child enticement and added protections for things with serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Before the final vote, lawmakers referenced Anne and passed the bill.
We recognize and appreciate the victim that came forward here, who's a 16-year-old girl who's sitting in the gallery right now, and give her a round of applause for her strength and her courage.
My ultimate goal is to not have anybody else go through what I've gone through.
The new law makes it a felony to entice a child to send nude images or take any steps in furtherance of the sexual abuse of a minor. And there's harsher punishments if the adult is in a position of trust. The family stresses this isn't just about teachers or coaches, but any adult who interacts with children. The statute took effect in September 2024. How exactly it will be used in court has yet to play out.
Very good information for a lot of parents here in Arizona there. We hope you're having a great evening and enjoy this live look from our Mount Bigelow camera. We also hope you'll join us for more news on 13 News Live at 10. We'll see you then.